when they actually spend their time listening to this show. What does it mean? It means we're winning.
I'm white, and I've got everything I need. No one clutches their purses when they're in a room alone with me. And I can drive for any neighborhood I please at any hour, and the police don't do a thing. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I got everything I need. I'm a guy getting paid more than a girl with a degree. And I can walk down the streets after dark, no one wants to rape me. And I can get a girl pregnant and just as easily flee. Just like my straight white male dad did to me. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. I've got a pile of broken mirrors and I'm walking under ladders and I'm spilling tons of salt, but to me that doesn't matter, cause my skin and my gender and my orientation are the best things to have if you live in this nation. I recommend it highly. I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. Shit's gonna work out for me, cause I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Intellectual Dollar Tree. We do the show live every Wednesday right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. Show starts at 7 p.m. Pacific. You can support this channel, this project, whatever, echoplexmedia.com. Click the support link at the top of the page. There's new Haunted Theater merch out that is goats, and I'm working on some that is Linux penguins in the Haunted Theater, so that should be very cute. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr.
And I am Sylph. You can find me on Mastodon at hparron at port87.social, and you can find me on Blue Sky at hparron with a dot between the second R and the I.
With the .in domain.
Yep, hpair.in.
Very nice. So I realized we're goddamn near fucking 300 episodes, I think, of the Intellectual Dollar Tree. And our friend Deepak Chopra has never made an appearance on on the main feed, possibly during Red Light, but never on the main feed.
Deepak's not really relevant anymore, is he? Like, he was on Oprah, I think, and that's when he like shot to fame.
Yeah,
and now
at
everyone
the beginning a lot of stories about a lot of ghouls. Somewhere near the beginning of it is Oprah.
Yeah,
fuck. She's probably done more damage to our society than almost anyone in our lifetimes. So, do you know who Mayim Bialik is?
No, I don't.
She played Blossom.
Blossom from what?
A show called Blossom.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
Okay, well, she was an actor. Her show was pretty successful. Then she went and got, I think, some kind of science degree. I'm escaping. Maybe biology. I forget. But then she was an anti-vaxxer. And then she said, I'm sorry, I'm not an anti-vaxxer anymore, which I guess is good. But I think she only did it because she wanted to be taken seriously by sciencey people. And I don't know. And anyway, now her show is really cooked. And she's had all kinds of fucking weirdos on her show. Including Deepak Chopra now. So here's proof we're living in a simulation, how to break old patterns and get limitless potential with fucking Deepak Chopra. By the way, real quick, during COVID, all the other people that used to make fun of Deepak Chopra turned into anti-vaxxers. Deepak Chopra was like, you should probably get the vaccine.
Well, good for him, I guess.
Take the small victories where we can get it.
Yep.
All right, let's see what's going on here with Blossom and Deepak.
We're at a very critical crossroads in our evolution. You're going to see the emergence of a new human species, maybe extrasensory perception and remote viewing and all of that.
We've spoken to people who inexplicably see auras around people. They see
They see
energy.
electromagnetic fields. We only see things.
People have certainly claimed that.
So seeing is not believing, it's the other way around. The way you're conditioned in your childhood determines how you see the world. So what's the world before you've been conditioned to see it?
There are things that we cannot measure that do exist and are real.
Everyone who's listening to this, their frontal cortex right now is changing as we speak.
Mine's revolting.
We
Mine's trying to leak out my ear.
everything material.
I definitely recognize this girl's voice.
That's a woman, this woman's voice.
Sorry, this woman's voice. I've definitely seen her in something.
I guess she was also in The Big Bang Theory. Like not one of the main characters.
Yep. Okay. That was it.
That show is dumb.
illusion, then who is creating the illusion?
It was funny, but I completely agree with you. It was dumb.
It was literally. I went to New Jersey to interview a kid. The
Was it Snooki? Did you go interview Snooki?
You were the original telepathy tapes?
I was the original. So
Oh no!
Yeah, she was Bernadette.
Oh
from,
no! She was.
yeah.
He was the. I'm not worried about who she was. He's the original telepathy tapes. Oh no!
I went to New Jersey to interview a kid. The mother said he can read my mind.
You were the original telepathy tapes?
I was the original. So you know how that started?
I do like the little theme because it's like the intro to like the after a commercial on an old sitcom where they'd show the front of the house.
Yep. Spot on.
Hi, I'm Ian Bialik.
I'm Jonathan Cohen.
And welcome to a very special MBB Explores. We got a lot to explore today.
See, this is the problem. She left her brain on the table behind her.
Maybe she makes all her guests put their brain there, actually.
The totality of the universe.
And if that's the biggest thing we're exploring, the smallest thing we're exploring is you, the atoms that you are made of, the consciousness that you have, and the ability that you have to...
No, we're exploring smaller than the atom.
I think she means during this show. I don't think she means that.
Oh, okay.
think and understand.
Oh,
outside.
quick disclaimer. They're going to talk about new quantum science. Neither of us are quantum mechanic people, quantum physicists, and that shit. I don't know anything about it. But also, we are bullshitologists, and so this is probably bullshit.
Of a material existence. Now, this all might sound like, what is going on? What if we were to tell you AI is part of this conversation? And what if we were to tell you...
It would make me
that
very much less interested
Chopra
because
himself
AI is awful.
going to explain to us both the biggest concepts in the universe and the most intimate
Was that was an AI picture of Deepak Chopra, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Why? He's
I think they
going
did it
to
on
be on the
purpose.
show. Just ask him for a headshot.
I think they did it on purpose because she mentioned AI. They're being clever.
Okay.
We have him here today to help us break down all things digital. We're going to gain an understanding of extrasensory ability. We're going to talk about telepathy. We're going to talk about the psychic, physical, and spiritual implications of thinking about not only life on other planets, but potential...
Oh, Amy, not
probability of-
Bernadette.
not only life on other planets, but potential probability of our existence in other forms in the universe.
This is both metaphysical and highly scientific.
All right.
I mean, 1 for 2.
Dr. Chopra is going to talk to us about how we are at a critical evolutionary crossroads and why the next 20 years of our experience will shape the future in ways none of us could have predicted.
Humans
There's like a really cool old camera, old like movie camera, like film movie camera behind this guy on their set. And I'm like a big camera nerd. I love like old cameras and just kind of old technology in general, old analog technology. And it makes me really sad to see that like that kind of cool piece of technology is now spending its life there.
I'm just impressed they have Connie Chung's book behind him on what appears to be a fucking Dewey Decimal System library cabinet.
we are becoming metahumans.
Some of us faster than others. We also want to direct you to cyberhuman.ai, which is the brainchild of Dr. Chopra. And it's a groundbreaking platform that merges ancient wisdom with modern
Imagine
science.
imagine the concept of X-Men, like the series X-Men, but none of them actually had superpowers. They just all thought that they did. So they'd go around saying like, you're thinking about an ice cream. And it's like, excuse me? I can read your mind. You're thinking about an ice cream right now.
Is that what they're talking about?
I'm just going to work, man.
All right.
These two platforms would be really, really incredible for you to kind of poke around in after you listen to this conversation.
Why does every website got to be a platform now? Because they're just talking about some website that he has.
Let us welcome in person Dr. Deepak Chopra. We got to speak to you before virtually. We never thought we'd get to speak to you in person. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We have a funny question for you. Why did you want to talk to us again?
Well, because I enjoyed the last one.
We were hoping that was true.
Yeah, it is true.
You're doing a tremendous amount of work
Well, they got the "isn't it great we're having this conversation" part out of the way right at the beginning.
in the digital space, in people's understanding of AI. And we touched on it in our first conversation with you, but I'd love the opportunity to kind of flesh it out more. I think a lot of people maybe don't understand how AI practically applies to wellness. And maybe we could start with you talking about
Wellness?
the reasons for introducing AI into this conversation. So you talk about
It's so that he's not the only one spewing out a bunch of fucking incomprehensible word salad. That's why he's fucking including AI into this. What the shit? Come on. Oh no. I mean, that's why he's doing it. Because when he come on.
waking up. What does it mean to wake up? Can you kind of lay out for us the problem, right? What we need to wake up from, and then we can get into how AI helps that.
It's a very interesting question and a very complicated answer. So if you Google or go on any online database and you ask the following question,
Any online
what are
database.
the 125 open questions in science? So the first open question in science.
Is he going to list all 125? And there's only, this is also kind of limiting, right? I feel like maybe he should expand his mind a little bit.
No, there's just 125, Dave.
Once we answer them, we've won science.
Yeah. That's the goal of humanity.
The problem is the very last question is, why is Deepak Chopra?
Is what's the universe made of? So that's the first open question.
Easy one, right?
Yeah, let's
Easy
start
one.
with the easiest.
Yeah, now you would say we know what the universe is made of.
Stuff.
Atoms, molecules, force fields.
He said atoms, but it almost sounded like he said items, which is very funny.
Items, chairs,
Electromagnetism, all the things that
Desks.
science talks about.
Unicorns.
Yes, maybe. Here's the dilemma. 70% of the universe is a mysterious force called dark energy. And we have no idea what it is. Einstein described it as the cosmological constant. And then he said, oh, it's one of my biggest blunders. But actually, he was right on, as usual. You know, Einstein used to doubt his own theories, and then they turned out to be right. For example, in 1935, he spoke about entanglement. Then he said, no, it's not possible. Spooky action at a distance. He ridiculed his own findings, but he was right. So 70% is this thing that we have no idea. It's the opposite of gravity. And the universe right now, as we sit here, is...
Well, that's not necessarily true either, because it might be a property of gravity that fucking science doesn't understand, or it might be like 17 different things, or it might be that science doesn't understand gravity correctly, which is actually a pretty well accepted idea, that we don't fully understand the mechanism by which gravity works. Like, I think he's just wrong, and fucking wrong.
He's definitely wrong. I want to say it is most certainly not just the opposite of gravity. Like in the sense that, like, you know, a negative electric charge is the opposite of a positive electric charge. You know, the two attract each other, and two positives repel each other, and two negatives repel each other. It's not the opposite of gravity. It doesn't have the opposite effect as gravity.
Well, we don't even know what it is, and we don't fully understand gravity at this point. So, like, this is like even like trying to explain it is kind of a fool's errand, especially when you're on like when you're on Blossom's TV show, YouTube channel, trying to explain it to like lay people when you yourself aren't even. This isn't even like your area of study. The dude's like an endocrinologist, which is a fine thing to be. It's just like this is all like out there on the fringes, like. You know, he's almost describing gravity as if it's a thing that's fully understood, and it's not, because if gravity was fully understood, then Eric Weinstein wouldn't have to pretend that he unified physics.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't even know. And again, it could just be some property of fucking gravity that we don't understand, or something else, or nothing, or somebody's fucking shit is wrong, or it's so weird to be like, oh, we don't know what this is, but also it's the opposite of this other thing.
Right.
Well, then, friend, that's knowing at least knowing what it is.
Yeah. Like if it were the opposite of gravity, it would only happen in areas of space that had massive objects. Like that's where the gravitational interaction takes place. Gravity can propagate through empty space, but it doesn't act on empty space. And like dark energy, as far as we can tell, acts everywhere in the universe.
Or it doesn't. We just don't know some shit.
Yeah, it could be that too.
That's probably it. It's probably, I don't know.
We just see this effect of something, or maybe we're just misinterpreting what we're seeing. And we go, that's strange. I don't know what that is. And Deepak Chopra's like, that's the opposite of gravity. No, it's not. We don't know what it is.
Than the speed of light, which is again a violation.
Can you talk us through the opposite of gravity?
Yes, so gravity
Good job, Blossom.
brings things together. And this force expands things. So it's the opposite. So right now, as we are sitting here, the universe, the space between galaxies is expanding faster than the speed of light. So the cosmic horizon, which is from here, where
that's not true.
50 billion
If that were true, we wouldn't see any other galaxies.
Well, unless we're moving too, though, so it's all relative.
But he's saying that the space in between galaxies is expanding faster than the speed of light. If that were true, the light from other galaxies would never reach us. And it does all the time, every single moment of every single day, light from other galaxies is reaching us. So clearly the expansion of space between galaxies is less than the speed of light.
from us, and galaxies are tumbling across that into the unknowable. Okay, because by the time light gets from there to here,
that's also not really true, because we can see as far back as the cosmic microwave background radiation. Like that's, if we look far enough back, we see to the point where there were no galaxies. Far enough out in space and back in time, which is kind of the same thing
have
when you're
burnt
looking that way.
up into the heat death of absolute zero. That's 70% of the universe, which we don't know. Whatever this force.
But we don't. How do we even know that we can see 70% of the universe to know that? Like, well, fucking shut that. This is all ridiculous. Because When he says see, we can only see is fucking the shit we could see. Can't see fucking everything, right? There's just shit like that we can't see. There has to be, because otherwise we would never discover anything new. Like, so, like this doesn't even jive with, like, I don't know. There's just you just like that direction. Eventually, you can't see anything anymore. Right? You don't know what's there. It could be fucking Scooby Doo on like just outside of our range. Just all Scooby Doo everywhere. Not likely, but I mean.
Well, as of right now, we can see back to like the quote beginning quote of the universe. It's not actually when the universe began. It's when space turned transparent. But we can see that far back. So we can see essentially to like the beginning of when things could be seen. But he's not wrong if you go into the distant future where that expansion has led to the point that galaxies are starting to fall out of the horizon of the universe. He's just wrong about right now. Right now, that's not happening.
It's not atomic, and you and I are made of atoms. So that leaves 30% of the universe that is remaining. Of that, 27% is another mysterious entity called dark matter. So dark matter is invisible. This matter, this table, my body, it's visible. And the reason it's visible is made of atoms. We are made of atoms. There
are things that are made of atoms that are invisible.
Light, emit light or whatever. So we don't know what it is. So why do we call it matter? Because it's responsible for most of the gravity in the universe. If you didn't,
I'm not sure that's why we call it matter, but
planets.
My understanding, and I'm not going to pretend I know a whole lot. I'm not going to pretend to give you a science lesson. My understanding is that dark matter and dark energy are like placeholders for things that essentially for things that don't make sense based on what we know about what we can observe in the universe. And so to make any bold claims about those two things makes you look stupid.
Like he should be saying it appears that 70% of the energy content of the universe is in this form called dark energy that we just don't understand, and 25-ish% an additional 25-ish% of the energy content of the universe appears to be this other thing we don't understand called dark matter, which interacts gravitationally but doesn't interact through the other forces. So he should be saying that, because we don't actually know that there is anything there. We don't know that there is a thing that's causing, dark matter or dark energy, the effects of those things.
Right. It could
don't know properties of the properties. It could be
properties of the. It could be properties of the physical universe that scientists have not figured out yet.
Yeah.
And that seems like that seems like the most likely scenario, actually, that they're just properties of the physical universe that we don't understand.
Yeah, so just like you said, we have just these placeholder names for things we don't understand.
Spiral off and get lost in intergalactic space, and you and I wouldn't be there.
I mean, it's been a minute.
I mean, we could hope.
Studied physics. How do we know it's there?
We actually only surmise it's there by its gravitational effects.
Got it.
And right now, there are a lot of places in the world that are looking for it through technologies under the ground.
At least she's asking the questions that we're kind of criticizing him for not answering. We'll criticize him and then she'll ask the exact same question.
Entity to describe molecules, it's called a WIMP, weakly interactive massive particles. Okay, but nobody's seen a WIMP. Now you have 3% remaining, which is atomic. Of that, 99.999% is invisible interstellar dust, probably hydrogen and helium, which was created at the Big Bang, according to current scientific models. So the visible universe, which is 2 trillion galaxies.
What we're interacting with, in theory.
Yeah. The visible universe, 2 trillion galaxies, 700 sextillion stars. And according to the James Webb Telescope right now, probably...
Well, not according to the James Webb Telescope. That's just a fucking machine. It doesn't actually answer questions or fucking tell you anything. It's like, according to this hammer, we just built a house.
60 billion habitable planets in the Milky Way galaxy. Multiply that by 2 trillion galaxies, you have habitable planets. The whole universe is teeming with life as we know life. So if a planet is very close to its sun, too hot, too far, too cold, no life. But then there have to be other things like the right amount of gravitational, electromagnetic constants.
So again, he's right, but he's also wrong, because there could be other circumstances where you could have life. So for example, one is in the oceans underneath the icy surface of a moon like Europa that orbits around a large planet, and the tidal forces on that moon cause the core of the moon to heat up and melt the water in between. Like, you know, you've got the core of the moon that's getting hot, and then you've got this big liquid ocean layer, and then above that you've got this big ice surface layer. And we don't know if there's life down there, but you know, it's theoretically possible that there could be life even outside of the Goldilocks zone of a star.
And he's saying that the universe is certainly teeming with life. What if life is really rare for reasons, again, that we don't fucking understand?
Yeah, we don't have proof of that, so he shouldn't really be saying it.
0.01%. The rest is unknown or unknowable. Unknowable because if it's not atomic, how do you know what it is? You can't interact with it.
But wait a minute, you just told us that you knew about it a little bit ago.
I mean, we interact with photons, and they're not atomic.
Now, here's the problem. The 0.01% that's visible, which is made of atoms, 2 trillion galaxies, as you know, that atoms made of particles, and particles, when you observe them, they have a location in space-time. When you don't observe them, they disappear into waves. Mm-hmm. And if you ask people, what are these waves made of? They're actually mathematical constructs. Mm-hmm. They don't actually exist anywhere except in mathematical imagination.
Wait, what? No. What? What is he talking about? No. The mathematical fucking thing is like a description of them.
Yeah, they exist in real life.
Like, otherwise the sun wouldn't work.
Electromagnetic waves are waves.
Right. Like, what do you mean they don't exist in real life? Then how the fuck did I get sunburned? Like, what is he talking about?
He should know this. What the fuck is he talking about? He should know this. This is the kind of stuff that, like, even a pretend scientist should know.
I mean, I'm not even a pretend scientist. I do zero science education on this channel. I will not tell people what the state of the science is because I don't know it, and I don't want to. I'm just not. That's just not my lane. But I understand that we use math to understand things like waves, right? That you use mathematical equations, and then that mathematical equation, if you chart it on an XY or maybe even an XYZ, you can get a representation of the wave. I also used to produce music. Like, I understand.
Yeah, like waves are absolutely a real thing. I don't know what the fuck he's on about.
Universe made of, we don't know. And the only guess we have, it's made of nothing. So it's a
and that's the bedtime story that Deepak Chopra just read to you.
It's a free lunch, basically. Now, that's the visible...
I don't know if I'd take a free lunch from this guy. This guy's like, let me take you to lunch. I'm like, can we get it to go? And you just drop me off at home?
I have Lunchables in my backpack. I'll just eat that. Thanks.
I don't know what the universe is made of, other than it's made of nothing, which leads to the second open question in science, which is, if it's made of nothing, why does it look like this? Why does it look like you, me, the stable, the stars, the galaxies, the mountains?
Oh, no, now he's just talking about like the space between the atoms, I think, and how like, but that's because we can't see that, like it's like if you see a bunch of grass, But then you back up, it just looks like a green, like somebody's lawn just looks like a green square because you can't see the space between the grass because you've backed up away from it. Now it just looks like like what is he talking? But you get real close to it and you're like, oh shit, there's space between these plates of grass. I mean, that's all that's happening here. It's just happening it's much smaller. Like, again, I'm not a fucking science expert, but like that's all that's happening.
Even if something is a point particle, so it has no volume at all whatsoever, it only exists at a single point in space, it's still something. You wouldn't say that that's nothing.
And
why do I have so many feelings if we're made of nothing?
That's right. So that's called the hard problem for consciousness. David Chalmers, who's coined that word.
Is it? Is that the hard problem? Why do I have so many feelings if I'm made of nothing? That's the hard problem of consciousness?
I don't know what
think
the
so.
hard problem of consciousness is. I just know that sometimes it's hard staying conscious, like when you're tired. But that's not what they're talking about.
I believe it's just explaining consciousness. I don't think it has anything to do with feelings and being made of nothing.
In NYU, formerly Australia, he coined that word, the hard problem of consciousness. But actually,
but I mean, he can't have made that up. It is a hard problem because we don't again, science doesn't really know exactly the mechanism by which consciousness occurs. It's fair to assume that it comes from your brain, but that's about as far as we can go with any sort of certainty, right? Like.
Yeah, and you could also argue that like consciousness arises through evolution, because that's certainly what it appears like.
Its existence in Plato. So Plato called it the mind-body problem. He was an idealist. He said there's no universe, it's just ideas about the universe we have.
Well, that's crazy, but that was also a very long time ago, so we're okay.
Aristotle, who was a physicalist, ushered in science, he said, no, the universe is made of stuff.
I'll go with that.
Which I totally support, by the way. And this is where it gets very kind of mind-boggling. There's no universe. Okay, the universe is a cosmic dream. It's a simulation from a digital workshop outside of space and time. Mm-hmm. And if you want,
yeah, but that's just like what fucking sci-fi nerds think.
Digital workshop is, if you want.
So okay, let's take him at face value and say what we're living in. Let's say we can prove beyond the shadow of a doubt is a simulation. That still means there's something outside of it that is simulating it, right? So there is a real universe.
I mean, I guess
just not this one.
But like. What would but then your experiment, if you're simulating a universe, isn't your experiment blown as soon as everybody inside the experiment figures out that it's an experiment?
I mean, considering how absolutely minuscule we are compared to the scale of the universe, I don't think they would even know that we exist.
Or cosmic consciousness, or the mystery. That digital workshop is throwing out zeros and ones, and that is what we experience as the visible universe. So the difference between this table...
I'm sorry, a computer sophisticated enough to simulate the universe is probably not necessarily working on some kind of binary shit that we understand, right? I mean, this would be some pretty sophisticated shit that we don't understand. So I don't know why it would operate it's just like a quadrillion x86 processors in the sky. Shut the fuck up.
The universe is just running on like 5 NVIDIA A1000s.
Mount Everest, you, me, a galaxy is just a different combination of zeros and ones.
Right. It's information. It's data.
It's data, which...
I mean, technically, you could say that the universe might be operating on an incredibly slow, not powerful computer. And we wouldn't be able to tell the difference. No matter how long it takes to do one like frame of the universe, to render one frame of it, to us, it would be instant, because we're living inside of it.
Right. Yeah. What would it do? It would handicap us to so that we perceived. See, like this is why I don't like this. This is why this is stupid, right? Because now, like now, whatever, if it's a simulation, well, whatever's doing the simulation just kind of has whatever properties it needs to have for us to be able to fucking view the universe the way that it wants us to view the universe. And now, how is it any different than just a god? It's just a god.
Yep.
Then.
Yeah.
Zeros and ones, but also as zeros and ones, which is called quantum computing.
When God bootstrapped the universe.
Symbiotica.
And making time to move my body in ways that we have. Big for what your goal. Big for when.
Oh, she's selling supplements.
Free from seed oil. So excited to be starting our journeys with Sika.com/20% off and free shipping today.
So, in the Eastern wisdom traditions, and also in traditions like the Kabbalah, also in Sufi mysticism, also in Eastern wisdom traditions.
Oh no, this is all just this is like, you know what the fucking people who aren't white think? Well, here you go. But like this is like no, because like this stuff drives me crazy because it's like you remember like it's like super racist, but like this would be like, oh, and this is an ancient Chinese secret and shit. He's ancient Chinese secreting us right now.
Yeah.
First of all, like no white people ever thought of this galaxy brain shit. Get the fuck out of here. And then like no fucking brown people ever were like, what the shit are you talking about? Get out of here with that bullshit. Like, come on, come on.
The universe is the appearance of cosmic consciousness.
We call it a projection.
Yeah,
The Kabbalistic
projection.
concept is that you're
What?
watching something on a
So
screen.
that's what I'm sympathetic to.
The universe is the appearance of cosmic consciousness.
So this is from the Kabbalah. This is like a sort of new age take on like some form of Judaism. Like Madonna was really into it in the 90s and shit. It was like, you know, remember before somebody could be basic, before we had the concept of basic, those people were just into the Kabbalah.
Okay.
It was before a cupcake could be $9.
Is very much. So I'm sympathetic to that, and actually AI can support that argument. So that's why, you know,
I don't
Well,
give
if
a
you
fuck
tell it
what
to.
AI can support. AI doesn't tell the truth.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you tell AI, hey, could you give me some supporting evidence for X, Y, and Z argument, it's going to try.
Yeah.
And a try is a weird way to say it.
AI is designed to emulate a human, right? So it is as good at determining the truth as a human at the maximum. I'm not saying it is that good. I'm saying its theoretical maximum is that good.
Which human are we talking about here?
Exactly.
ChatGPT is certainly better at figuring out what's going on in the world than, for example, Hamburglar Dan Badandi.
Okay, true. It's probably the averagest human.
of zeros and ones, you know, and also of zeros and ones soon with quantum computing. How does that relate to consciousness? Because
Probably
consciousness is
doesn't.
not computable. Consciousness doesn't have a border, okay, because it doesn't have a form. If it had a form, you'd be able to see consciousness, but you can't see it because it is what is doing the seeing. Okay, so it has no border, which means it's infinite, which means it's spaceless.
Ed, no, that is not what that means.
And actually,
This is like, can a computer build itself? That's all he's asking. It's like, can an ice cream cone lick itself? This is like what he's saying here. And the answer is yes, it's a self-licking ice cream cone. Metaphorically.
Arguably, the atmosphere does not have a border. Like, we draw borders around it and are like, this random spot right here, this random altitude is where space starts. And it certainly has like layers that are distinct. But once you get to the exosphere, that kind of just goes out for a very, very long time and just kind of trails off until...
What about the dome? The firmament.
the firmament?
Yeah.
I guess, okay, so I'm incorrect. The firmament is the border of Earth. Okay.
No,
Sorry.
no, that's what the flat earthers believe.
Yeah, the waters of the heavens is where that's the perimeter.
You know, at night they just put a fucking blanket over the firmament, but there's holes in the blanket, and that's what the fucking stars are.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
actually, beyond anything that we can conceive or imagine. Freeman Dyson, one of the greatest physicists of our times, who passed away only a few years ago in the mid-90s from Princeton.
That wasn't a few years ago, sir. That's 30 years ago.
God is what the mind becomes when it goes beyond the threshold of our comprehension. We just give up because there's no way to compute this mystery.
Oh, but my point was the atmosphere is not infinite. So like
Right.
just because something doesn't have a border doesn't mean it's not, or doesn't mean it is infinite.
Oh, the flat earthers get real fucking fucked off on that one.
For all computations.
There's a merger, really, between very old Eastern philosophical ideas and the new
And ideas
techno-
in Judaism and ideas in many Western traditions
Many
too.
Western traditions.
Including philosophers like Wittgenstein. You know, Wittgenstein said, our life is a dream, we are asleep, but once in a while we wake up enough to know that we're dreaming. So waking up simply means
I think that person that's like a philosopher. That's a philosophical idea. Like it's not, this isn't like, if that person was a physicist, they weren't like, I think he said they were a physicist, maybe not. But they're like, they weren't saying, oh, I'm doing physics now. Here, when we wake up every once in a while, we realize that we're dreaming. It's clearly philosophical. It's like, it's the plot of the movie The Matrix in some ways. It's like what the movie The Matrix is sort of about, kind of.
Yep.
Like that fucking other movie, what was it? I forget the name of it, where you could control the dreams and screw the world up in your dream or whatever. I forget the name of that movie.
Inception.
Right. It's sort of it's like that movie. That's what that like there. This is like not an interesting or novel like concept. There is pop culture galore about this concept.
Yep.
going from this projection to what is doing the projection. What is it that does the projection? And again, in Kabbalistic traditions, we are, and in Sufis traditions, we are a drop in the ocean of the divine mystery. And Rumi has a great poem. He says, you're not just a drop in the ocean, you're also the ocean in the drop.
Well, there's a fusion happening between current science, people...
Maybe on YouTube. No. Okay, so this is dumb. No, and Deepak's so famous for this, right? He keeps saying that fucking the bleeding edge of science because nobody knows what the fuck he's talking about when he starts talking about quantum physics and quantum mechanics. Because first of all, he's probably wrong, but secondly, like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking. What if he was right? I still wouldn't know what the fuck he was talking about. It's like right out there at the bleeding edge, and the people who are actually doing the work at the bleeding edge are going to tell you, I don't actually know what the fuck I'm talking about, but here's what I'm working on. Like, and so that shit seems a little spooky, and so does this old religious shit. Seems a little spooky. So they must be the same fucking thing. This is ridiculous. No. The other thing you're doing is you're like fucking shoehorning it to the extent that it is true. You're just like shoehorning in or taking out of context things from these old texts and saying, aha, it's like quantum entanglement. Well, no, it's not. You're just saying that it is. And then like, no.
Artificial intelligence realm who are almost more techno-utopian in their view of artificial reality or life as a simulation, really thinking about it as a video game, and the older traditions that, had the mystic elements to it.
Yeah, right now, the preeminent philosopher scientist on this is a person called Nick Bostrom, and he talks about the universe being a simulation in a cosmic computer.
Thomas Campbell, he calls it, like autonomous, unbounded oneness. And
100%.
it's, and he's a hardcore physicist who accidentally learned transcendental meditation. And
accidentally, anybody can meditate. What do you mean you accidentally learned? Did you download Sam Harris's app? That's fucking ruining people's lives and shit, probably. What do you mean accidentally learned transcendental meditation? What the fuck? There's like classes. The guy probably lives in like fucking Portland where there's like a transcendental meditation workshop every 15 minutes. Like, dude went to a fucking psytrance party and took like 9 hits of acid, and now he's spiritual. I don't know.
Oops, I learned transcendental meditation. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
These people just need to go to a psytrance party because like they can then pretend to explore their spiritual side while just doing a lot of drugs and dancing. It's much better for you than whatever the shit this is.
Their stratosphere as just a young grad student.
So he's got it right.
He's got it right.
He's got it right. And why is this important? Because if we realize that everything material is an illusion, then who is creating or what is creating the illusion? Are we participants in the creation of the universe, literally? Is there something very mysterious about the human species that is very biblically kind of metaphorically expressed as, the apple and the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, that we now have that knowledge. So AI can cause our extinction, but AI can also create a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful.
I don't think it's going to do either. It's just going to suck up all of Mark Andreessen's money, and I'm for that. That's the only good thing AI is doing, is sucking up all of Mark Andreessen's fucking money.
We're at a very
but
cross.
in that, it's also causing a whole lot of damage to the Earth.
No, I didn't say it's not doing a bunch of bad things. The only thing it's doing that's good is sucking up Mark Andreessen's money.
Okay, yeah.
It's in our evolution as a human species. And AI, because it's a large language model, it's not just...
Well, no, the large AI is not a large... There are like machine learning things that are not large language models that are also under the umbrella of what we're stupidly calling AI. He's talking specifically about the large language model versions, the large language models. That's not all of what AI is supposed to be or what the fuck ever. In fact, I think like 10 years ago, if you ask people about AI, nobody would have even thought it would have been a large language model, or maybe only people at like the edge of it, or the people who were doing the actual, like the scientific research. So he's just wrong again.
I think large language models were invented in 2015.
Oh, that I don't know. But I'm just saying that like, that's not large language models are like a subset of what people like to call AI. I don't know what else is out. There's probably other stuff I don't know.
Language, but the language of physics, biology, astronomy, you name it, history, mythology, religion, spirituality. As we embark on this journey, we are going to see a leapfrogging of our cultural and evolution, but also our biological evolution. So 40,000 years ago, according to deep historians, and according to, maybe you've had him, Yuval Harari, he said 40,000 years ago, we left the rest of the human tribe because we had a language for narrative. All the animals, other animals, including other hominins, have a language for just mating calls, food calls, and danger calls.
The importance.
I don't think that humans are the only animal capable of thinking in what we would call a narrative. I know cats make up nasty stories about me all the time.
So I believe dolphins and whales and other whatever you call that group of animals, some of them do have languages where they can convey ideas beyond food, mating, stuff like that.
Well, even if they can't convey them through what we would call language, it doesn't mean that their brains, that they're not capable of like narrative thought.
Yeah. Yeah, but in just languages, he's still wrong.
And stuff.
Yeah, the important. That's how we survive. But now we have this language where we can communicate ideas, but now we have large language models which combine narrative with physics, with biology, with religion.
Wait, do you think people don't? You're trying to do that right now, and you're doing a bit about as well as ChatGPT 2.
There's nothing biological about a large language model.
But also, like, good science communication is a mixture of narrative and the language of physics, biology, chemistry. Like, that's how good science communication works. It isn't a thing that just the large language model is doing. Fucking Bill Nye the Science Guy does that. That's like why he's a good science communicator.
Yeah, like again, the large language model is just emulating a human.
Spirituality. So what I'm saying right now, which a lot of people roll up their eyes, is that in 20 years, you're going to see the emergence of a new human species.
No. Oh, that's crazy. Uh-oh. This is some eugenics shit here now. Uh-oh. We're going whatever. This is like a hop, skip, and a jump away from eugenics.
Human, because
I like the fucking, didn't the Nazis think they were making the next evolution of fucking humanity and shit with their fucking like super soldier program and shit? Like this is some eugenics, like more human than human shit. I don't like this. It makes me uncomfortable.
neural landscape is changing with this large language models. The more knowledge you acquire, the brain networks adjust to that. And then your epigenetic modulation occurs. So we will see a new human species in 20 years.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about this, and obviously
Well, he ain't going to be here in 20 years for us to make fun of him for saying that. He's getting older.
That's a bit of a leap, though. Like, what is his definition of a species?
This is
Like,
bullshit.
if I think a little different, I'm a new species.
Oh no, it's bullshit. It's bullshit, and it's fucking real. It's very eugenics adjacent.
Yep.
Because it's just going to be like humans that he thinks are more evolved or whatever. And then anytime anybody's tried to create that, it's gone super well, actually, super duper well.
In neuroscience, so we have to think about these things.
Yeah.
And you know, the story that we kind of always tell is, it usually comes up when people say, why are so many people autistic? Why do we have so much ADHD? Could the human genome have been affected so acutely, right, in the last 20 years? And we know that a lot of that is diagnostic. It's
like almost all of it can be explained by diagnostics, to the best of my ability to tell. And some of it could be like ebbs and flows. Some of it could be environmental. Some of it, I don't know. But like, this is, now we're getting awful. Now we're getting into what the anti-vaxxers think, right? About like, your environment is creating these things. And then that obviously leads us down the autistic people are broken pathway, which is not great.
Yeah. So basically, autistic people and people with ADHD used to be referred to as the weird kid or the annoying kid.
Or worse, the R word.
There weren't. What's that?
Or worse, the R word.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that is not new. Like the condition is not new. What we call it is new.
the way that we're sort of,
But also the environment.
But also the environment. Absolutely. The environment has changed. I was listening today to a podcast and they were saying what's changed in the last 50 years, ADHD, autism rates, and the way we treat women's health. The
diagnosis rates.
The way we treat, this is going to be, and the way we treat women's health, this is going to get weird. This is going to get, I want to know what podcast she's fucking listening to, because I'd like to feature it next week.
And the way we treat women's health, the food that we feed the women who are getting pregnant to make the babies, right? So if you look at what could have happened that's significant in the last 50 years, the environment, toxins, food, and kind of mental health care in a rapidly changing environment. So,
But also in the last 50 years, we figured out the pregnant women shouldn't drink or smoke. So you'd think it would fucking, like, get the fuck out of here.
We also figured out that folic acid is very necessary. So
that being said, I
don't know about most, but a lot of women take prenatal vitamins.
Thinking about this yesterday in a very non-scientific way. My father, of blessed memory, he passed away 10 years ago. He was a huge basketball fan. And my father was a New Yorker, and he loved the New York Knicks. So I grew up watching the New York Knicks, Patrick Ewing, all the classic greats. And I was raised on 1970s and 80s basketball. But my father also lived through Michael Jordan. And we would watch all of those games. And I was thinking my father's concept of basketball that he was raised with as a kid, poor kid growing up, right, in the Bronx, it had to change so significantly.
Why? Because fucking Michael Jordan wasn't Patrick Ewing? Shut the fuck up. It didn't change dramatically. Oh my God.
Things that this athlete was doing, right? But when you talk about this, when I think about my grandparents, who were sweatshop workers who immigrated from Eastern Europe, who never even
owned a basketball.
What neuroscience was that I was studying. I couldn't even explain it, right? Their concept of the world. My grandmother grew up with no electricity in the village that she.
I'm sorry, if you can't explain to somebody that you're a neuroscientist and that means you study the science of the brain, then you're the problem. You don't have to explain like what you're currently working on for them to have some idea that you study the science of the human brain, or maybe not even the human brain, maybe just brains. I study brains. They're like, oh, very nice, very nice. Oh, that's nice, dear. That's nice. Would you like a glass of orange juice? Like,
fled, right? The world changed so significantly. So then I think about me, us, and our kids, and the way my child can pick up anything. And if he's never seen how to do this website or application online, his brain has figured it out. And I know that fundamentally it's not a
but that's a website is designed hopefully so that you can find the things on it. Come on.
Yeah, there's definitely that. Websites were harder to use back in like the 90s and early aughts.
Right now, like any schlub, even me, I put up a website for Mixie Monday that you can find things on because they're easy to find because I built it that way. It's like, oh, would you like a shirt? Oh, here's the, oh, it says merch. Should I click that? I'll click that. Like, what do you mean your son, what is your son, fucking 3 months old? Okay, well then that's pretty amazing.
Well, like companies invest millions of dollars into making their websites easier to use.
Different brain than 1,000 years ago.
But right now, what the interesting thing is, everyone who's listening to this, they're also watching us?
Yeah.
Okay. Their frontal cortex right now is changing as we speak. So they could be in England or in China, and their genetics
I'm not sure that they're allowed to watch this in China.
is being affected in this part. Now, if we were talking and since
Isn't it always changing? If it stops changing, that means you're dead, right?
emotionally distressing or whatever, then their reptilian and emotional brain would be activated and the neural networks would change. So every experience modulates our gene activity and our neural activity. That's why I'm saying in 20 years, this is a new human species with maybe extrasensory perception and remote.
In 20 years, we're going to be the fucking men who stare at goats.
So he says, because you're learning new things, that is going to change the species of your offspring. I don't think that's true. Like you learning something new doesn't change your genome. Like right. I do know he's talking about epigenetics. He's not talking about genetics.
Well, he's sort of bastardizing epigenetics to suit his personal like agenda, right?
Yeah, but like a change in epigenetics doesn't cause a speciation event. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. It's also like he's not really. I don't think he's even like coming close to accurately or reasonably talking about epigenetics.
Yeah,
because he's saying that something that he probably thinks he's talking about epigenetics or whatever, but that in 20 years it's going to cause like even a mild like speciation of humans. No, that over the course of 20 years we're not going to, even if that's the process started or if we're in the middle of it, we're not going to notice.
Like someone born 2,000 years ago, if you were able to like bring them forward in time to now, they would be able to successfully breed with someone born today, and for sure someone born 20 years from now.
And not for nothing, but also if they were born today, but they were somehow like transported at the moment of birth into our society, they'd probably be just as good as any random person at like adapting to human society because they don't know anything about the world when they're born.
Yeah.
Doing and
epigenetics matters, just not that much.
Actually, that was on our list of things we wanted to talk to you about. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around the percentages we're talking about. And it's not.
So the logo on her microphone looks like a logo. Looks like a shirt we would make for the intellectual Dollar Tree. You see the brain with the glasses on it. Doesn't it look like a shirt we'd make?
It really does.
Looks like one of.
Just put a galaxy behind it, and that could definitely be our shirt.
Looks like something we'd make.
In the gray matter conversation, but one of the things that people who are stuck in a materialistic worldview are so hung up on is, I believe what I can see. I maybe believe what I can feel, but only if I can describe it really well and if it's predictable and reproducible. When we talk to people all the time who feel that they understand things that cannot be measured, we've spoken to people who inexplicably see auras around people. They see.
Well, this isn't inexplicable. They're just fucking wrong.
It's very explicable.
And like they say, oh, I can see an aura around this person, and that's how I know they're sad. And it's like, well, maybe are you looking at their face? Do they look sad? Like, it's either body language.
We've tested these claims, and they're wrong. There's sure, technically there's an aura around you because you radiate heat, but like, unless you have infrared vision, you're not going to see it.
Like, I'm reading Dave's aura, and he looks a little impatient and frustrated right now. It's like, no. You're looking at me. You're seeing me. You're seeing me look around, look down, make a face, make a different face, then go back to the other face. Like,
I'm reading your aura right now, and you look about 78.5 degrees Fahrenheit.
ooh, that'd
the
It's
energy.
the electromagnetic field.
wouldn't that be like 98.6?
Thomas Campbell, after
That's your
after
internal
transcendental
temperature. If your
meditation,
skin
said
is
that
that
he
temperature,
could
there's something really wrong with you.
Or it's just hot out.
see what looked like cotton candy between trees, right? So can you talk a little bit about, in terms of what we know is unobservable, given this kind of framework, how far can we extend that into saying there are things that we cannot measure that do exist and are real?
So you raise a very important point. We
can't say that. We just can't. It's just, there might be, there probably are, but we can't say for sure because we can't measure them. And as soon as we do measure them, they no longer fit that definition.
Right. It's obvious that there are going to be forces or things, just things. We'll call them things. We'll say stuff. There's going to be stuff that human beings don't know yet. But then when you say that you know what those things are, well, now you're claiming no, and now they're not now they're not unknown, or you're just wrong.
Yeah.
Or there's also like the idea that like, that you could be right, but you just guessed. Like somebody wins the lottery, right? And sometimes they don't even do the quick pick. Sometimes they pick the numbers themselves. Does that mean that they were able to see the future? No.
Yeah, and if you can't measure something, it is untestable. And if it's untestable, it's not scientific at all.
And then again, as soon as you can measure it, now it's not unmeasurable anymore. Now it's not the thing that you claimed it was in the first place. So by definition, this is always incorrect.
Yeah. So maybe humans can be telepathic. I don't know. If we ever find a human who really is telepathic, we absolutely would be able to measure that for sure. We'd be able to test it and measure it and prove that it's true. But so far, every human who has claimed to be telepathic has failed those kinds of tests.
And you know what? I would feel sorry for the person who was telepathic, because us being humans, we would do horrific experiments on that person.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So seeing is not believing. It's the other way around. Your cognitive and perceptual mechanisms adjust to what you believe in. So what you see is, even the tangible is not intangible. So our new science is saying that if you can see it, if you can touch it, it's tangible, it's not real. Okay, it's a perceptual activity that you are interpreting as matter. So matter is not the ontological primitive of the universe. Consciousness is the ontological primitive of the universe, and matter is a human name for this experience. So
I don't believe you, Deepak. I just don't know. I've never heard any scientist say anything even remotely close to that.
But even if you did, that would just be a scientist saying something stupid. And that's
true.
one of the core propositions of the intellectual dollar tree is that even if that scientists say something stupid. Also, I'm not sure that I call my desk an experience. I would call
my desk is an experience, but that's just because I have a bag of my teeth on it.
what is it? It's a sensation. It's a sound, right? If I replace the word table,
My wisdom teeth. I should explain that.
but replace the word object with the word
Not pulling out my teeth.
All right. Well, I'm glad we're talking about your teeth.
It's a sensation. It's a sound, right? If I replace the word table with the word object, but replace the word object with the word experience, then I say, where's this experience happening? There's no image of this in your brain. There's no sound in your brain. There's no sensation. So the only place this experience is happening is outside of space-time.
Wait, what?
Consciousness.
What?
So this
Friend, sometimes
What?
Sometimes what is it? Sometimes the chair is just a chair, right? Sometimes the table is just the table, man.
Where is this experiencing happening? Oh, it must be outside of space and time.
Because
Like,
when I
Because there's no table in your
generalize-
brain.
When I generalize, when I go from table to object, and then you don't know what it is because I said, there's an object, you're like, all right. Well, now now this whole thing must be existing out of space time because I didn't tell you anything about the object, just that it was an object. So therefore, it's all metaphorical. Like I can't fucking believe that. Like I can't. I mean, I can believe it. But this guy hasn't changed a bit.
Of course not.
idea that we exist in space-time as matter, molecules, force fields, that's a human construct for modes of knowing and experience in consciousness. Even the brain.
No, it's very much backed up by evidence. It is extremely backed. In fact, I would say that would be the most backed up by evidence claim you could make is that, I exist.
Right. I think therefore I am or whatever. It's philosophical, but
Yeah.
it's fairly, it's pretty good actually. It's
Yeah.
small. And sure, I mean, I'm with him if he's like, hey, the way we describe things and stuff is socially constructed and the way that we use language sort of impacts the way that we think about the things in the world because of the way that we've described them. Sure. All right, cool. But now that's some linguistic shit and you should talk to a linguist. And it would be very interesting actually to hear the way that a linguist might talk about how you describe and understand a table in different languages. And maybe that's interesting. And maybe that does affect like the way that your brain processes a table. I'm sure that it does, right? The language you're speaking probably impacts the way that you see the world in some way, but that's like a linguistic thing. And it doesn't mean that if I learn another language that I wouldn't be able to just say table to somebody and we'd still have some general idea what the fuck we're talking about.
I don't know, man. Maybe you're talking about a turned over bucket. Is that a table?
You get four of them in a
Piece
you
of
get four
plywood?
of them in a piece of fiberboard, and then you're broke,
Yeah.
and it's in your apartment. It's a coffee table. Fuck yeah.
That's a table.
In consciousness.
Does it become a table only when you put down the board on top of it?
I mean, sure. Otherwise, it's just four buckets. Those are just chairs.
So you can turn 4 chairs into a table just by putting a board on top of them.
More though about we only believe what we see, or we only see what we believe.
In the 70s, I went to medical school I went to medical school in 1964, so I'm ancient. So in 1964, we were reading about 2 things which were very significant. One was, of course, DNA, and everybody is talking about this, the code of life, etc. But the other thing, there was a Nobel Prize awarded to 3 scientists who had raised kittens in 2 different rooms. So in one room, the kittens were exposed only to horizontal stripes. In the other room, the kittens were only exposed to vertical stripes. And then when these kittens grew up to be cats, one group of cats could only see a horizontal world. The other group of cats could only see a vertical world. And when their brains were examined, they only had the connections to see either horizontal worlds or vertical worlds. So what's the word?
Friend, there's a problem here. Cats can't read. Like,
Is he saying words? I thought he was saying worlds.
maybe. Oh, yeah. Maybe he said words.
Neither one makes sense.
If it's words, though, cats can't read.
Before you have been.
So basically, like, we tortured some cats.
Right. Or he's just like, maybe there's something interesting there about like sight and how your sight like develops and how specifically like feline sight develops. Maybe there's something super interesting in there and he just fucking refuses to like understand it or whatever. Like, or is just like changing it so that it sounds spookier than it is. There might've been something real interesting there about like, if you raise a feline or whatever, where there's just horizontal or vertical stripes or whatever, that could be interesting. There could be something very cool there. But it's Deepak Chopra seems to think that it's some shit that it isn't. Or maybe, I don't know. The scientists are probably dead, so they can't come smack him.
Yeah, he's certainly butchering that that
You have no idea that this is called a table or the
experiment.
and there's a body.
Or if you're white or black or speak whatever language you're supposed to speak.
All you experience is sensation, sounds, textures. And then you say, where is this experience happening? It's because it's a sensation. And the sensation is a modulation of consciousness, modulates itself into a sensation in order to experience itself. And the sensations are species specific.
A modulation of consciousness.
A dragonfly has 30,000 eyes. It can see 360 degrees vision. A snake experiences infrared. A bat experiences the echo of ultrasound. What's the world really made of? It's a silly question.
Wait, but the fucking we understand those things. That's why we have words for them and can explain them. Like, what the fuck? What's the world that's made of the same stuff? It's just that like fucking different animals have evolved different, like we also experience infrared. Otherwise you fucking wouldn't know if it was hot out. Like what is this guy talking about?
Yeah. Also, like we can do those same things even better than the animals, just with a machine. You know, like echolocation, we have sonar that can like vastly outperform a bat's echolocation.
Not made of anything. It's
but does it look as cool as a bat? I don't think so.
nothing, and therefore infinite possibilities.
Right.
Infinite possibilities. The way you're conditioned in your childhood determines how you see the world.
Say that again.
The way you're conditioned in your childhood. So the conditioning economic, it's ethnic,
Emotional.
it's religious,
Spiritual.
it's spiritual. All that conditioning is, through that conditioning, we see the world. And that conditioning becomes a belief system. You know, there's a beautiful poem by William Blake. He says, we are led to believe a lie when we see with and not through the eye that was born in a night to perish in a night while the soul slept in beams of light. So the soul is in those beams of light, which can see through the belief into the world of infinite possibilities, the mind of God.
What the fuck is he talking about?
I've heard him say that like 5 other times before. The see through the mind of infinite possibility, the something of God. I've heard him say that before. I swear to you, I think that might be sampled in a fucking Psytrance song that I have. Psytrance is all spiritual and fucking like leans heavily on like samples of people talking about Eastern mysticism and stuff because people are doing a lot of drugs at Psytrance parties.
Mind Beyond's breakdown is supported by Alloy Women's Health. Aging can be...
Oh no.
Nope. Oh, fucking supplements.
I don't want to know what companies support this garbage.
A lot of people want to believe in infinite possibility. They're like,
well, there are infinite possibilities, I suppose.
but my rent is due and my hip hurts and my relationship is a problem. Explain how understanding this, that there is another experience of consciousness that's
So
possible.
for all those who are listening to us and watching us, go to deepakchopra.ai with that question and you'll get the right answer.
Oh, there's a better one, The Wisdom of Chopra, where it just fucking spits out nonsense.
You
I love that bot.
really understood how creativity works and how infinite possibilities works, then you are at the most fundamental level in a superposition of infinite possibilities of experience. So quantum mechanics.
Wait a minute, is he just saying that there's like an infinite number of things that could happen to you tomorrow?
Like, this is some bullshit he's spewing right now.
Right, this is we got to get this guy to talk to Eric Weinstein, honestly. I feel like the universe would contract back into the fucking singularity or whatever if these two fucking talked for too long. It would just be that the universe would be tired of hearing it and would decide to cease to exist. It would become conscious and then immediately kill itself.
That would be the point where we went from the local minimum to the 0 point energy or whatever it's called,
Sure.
the actual minimum of the 0 point energy, and it would just radiate out from Earth at the speed of light, tearing apart the universe.
Like that scene in the Futurama movie where there were too many benders in the universe just fucking kersplatted.
It's about superposition of particles, qualia mechanics, which is the new science, the experience of awareness, qualia means quality of experience, also exists in infinite possibilities of superposition. So before if I asked you, tell me what your next thought is going to be.
Is there a possibility that the land of infinite possibilities, is there a possibility that my slight headache that I'm getting from this will go away during red light?
There's a very high possibility because I know what you're going to put in your glass.
Your next thing, close your eyes and say, I wonder what my next thought is going to be. And then wait for it. And unpredictable.
I was thinking cyanide.
It'll show up. But if you go to the source,
No, just vodka.
which is pure consciousness, which is meditation, what allows you, then you see those possibilities. We call that intuition, we call that creativity, we call that imagination, but at a very deep level. So true intuition is far superior to anything in the realm of rational thought.
What?
Completely disagree. 100%. I could not disagree more with that statement.
Like okay, listen, it was irrational for me to say that Deanna Ploss was going to get tear gassed at the Capitol when I 2 days before J6, I said she was going to get tear gassed at the Capitol, and I was kidding, and then it happened. But that wasn't intuition. That was probably like a lucky guess based with her saying she was going to the Capitol and me thinking of how funny it would be if she got tear gassed.
Like, you have to think about, our intuition was not designed to like understand the universe. Our intuition was designed, I'm saying
Tigers.
designed, it evolved. Our
Tigers.
intuition evolved to keep us from getting eaten by a lion.
Right, like Jamie Mustard, the guy with the shots.
What's
Remember the guy
that?
with the shots and the tigers? You don't remember that?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
You're like, thanks
But
for
yeah,
reminding
I
me
mean,
of that.
that
shit.
he's got a point though.
Yeah.
It is contextual, it is relational.
Like, our intuition is terrible at reasoning.
Right, because it's better to have a, like, if you're worried about something attacking you or whatever, it's better to have a bunch of false positives and instead of a false negative.
Yep.
Realm of rational thought. It is contextual, it is relational, it is holistic, it doesn't have a win-lose orientation, it eavesdrops on the mind of God. That's true intuition. Creativity, radical creativity, is disruptive. It's not an algorithm. So that's why AI will simulate creativity. True creativity, you have to disrupt the algorithm. You know what they call Gödel's theorem. You know, there are theorems that are true, but you can't prove them. So it's a very interesting
But I
paradox.
thought a theorem was a thing that you could prove, like through math. I mean, I don't know. You know what? Fuck this. Fuck this. I can't take fucking one more minute of this shit. I absolutely cannot do this. This was the worst fucking idea I ever had.
No, I loved it. I thought it was great. More of this kind of trash. This wasn't
Absolutely not.
infuriating to me. This was just like boggling.
This is fucking. You should start your own podcast. You know how they got that knowledge fight about Alex Jones? You should do one about Deepak Chopra, because we're never watching Deepak Chopra on the Intellectual Dollar Tree again, unless
He's so wrong about so many things so quickly in succession.
unless he talks to Eric Weinstein and they end up arguing.
That would be fantastic.
You know what? Fuck it. Throw Michio Kaku up in that mix too. And the It's Aliens guy, just to fuck around.
I'd pay to watch that, honestly.
All right. Well, so what we learned is his his redemption arc, as somebody said during chat, like during COVID, where he said, I think you should probably get the vaccine. It's like not indicative of any shift in his thinking, just that he's maybe just not an anti-vaxxer.
He's not quite as horrible a person as a lot of other people are.
And he seems like a nice enough guy. Like if you were talking to him about anything else, he'd probably be a super nice guy.
Sure, but he's a bullshit artist.
Right. No, I'm not. But he's probably like at a dinner party. He probably doesn't fucking barrage people with this shit at a dinner party, right?
I mean, most con men are pretty charming. I'm not saying he is a con man, but he's like borderline, that area.
So I think he's like the archetype in some ways for some of the former science people that became internet famous, right? Because like he was an endocrinologist, like he won awards and shit. He was like a really good medical doctor. But the problem with that is, and wouldn't be a problem for me so much, but it maybe for him is that you maybe top out in like the mid six figures on your yearly income. You might make $400,000 or $500,000 a year, right? Not a problem for most people.
Enough for me, man.
Yeah, not a problem for most people, but selling a bunch of quantum bullshit to people, boy, howdy, can you make a lot more money doing that?
Yeah. So
we usually go a little longer than we went, but absolutely fucking not. I'm not even gonna pour a drink. I'm just gonna bring the bottle and just fucking suck on the bottle until I fucking pass out. I'm just kidding. I would never do that to the audience. I don't know. You want to close the show? You want to read the show out so we can fucking do something else? The next thing I have for Red Light is worse but more entertaining.
Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in for Intellectual Dollar Tree. We do this show every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, live here on twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. If you'd like to come check us out, see our actual recording after the show, we do Red Light, where we talk about other things. We have a little alcohol and get a little more interactive with the chat. So come check us out for that. If you'd like to support us, you can do that on patreon.com/Echoplex, or you can support us at our store, eplex.store. If you're listening live, stick around after the song for Red Light. And here is Boomers by Periscope.